My goodness. Hi, guys. It's the BLERD official podcast. How are we doing? My name is Karan Ashley. Dana is not here, and she has left us unsupervised again. If y'all don't know who Dana is one of our line professors. You know, she left us. We are here manning the machine ourselves. You know it's going to be a debacle. You know.
I'll just wait till Grubhub get here. It's about to be wrong.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. How are you guys doing? I have to introduce my co-hosts. My co-hosts are Hilton George. How's it going?
Oh, it's been going great. We've had great weather. There's a lot of great stuff happening, through the week. I love productive weeks where you get stuff done. And it's just like you're kind of getting stuff done and then it's done and you ain't got to deal with it no more. I'm getting more and more of that going on this week.
Checklist.
I'm feeling the weight come off my shoulders and I'm flying high. So it's been a good week so far. It's only Wednesday. I don't want to jinx it.
Right.
But so far,
you got this.
Good momentum.
You got this. I'm good. It's all nothing but good vibes. Nothing but good vibes. Christi Renee. I almost said your legal name, girl. See what happened? Government name. Christi Renee. How you doing?
I am living fabulously and just floating around these cities, honey. Just doing my thing. I'm
all up in Madison Square Garden on the front row. Ain't inviting nobody.
That's tomorrow.
High fiving
That's tomorrow.
As they go, as they inboard. What they call it? What they call in sports? Inbound and
yes.
Oh my God!
You gotta watch it.
Get your basketball wife.
No,
I'm just joking. That could be anything. It could be anything. See, I'm already getting fired. See, Dana's fault. Dana left me. She left us.
Charge. Why am I in charge? I ain't
supposed to be on a 5-second delay, Dana.
I know. No, but this is the thing. We're winning in 24. We have claimed it. We have prepared. We have worked. Like, this is the thing. And most people go, oh, it just happened overnight. No. It took 20, 30 years of just planting seeds and nurturing that soil to actually win. And most of us are in that state of life where we're like, we need results. I said,
this is a good thing to talk about. Seriously, with the people, because they think that you're right. People think that everything, we make things look easy.
Yeah.
Well, they're not easy. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and feeling like, there was nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It's been a lot. What a journey.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all know, even for me, just moving to a new time zone, it's just been a challenge. But boy, I tell you,
it's been nice having an Eastern Standard Time for once.
I know. But I have one complaint. I need Christi to understand she can't call me before 12 noon at Eastern Standard Time, because she will try to call me and it's like 7 a.m. And I'm like, girl, who's picking up the phone at 7 a.m.? You've known me since I was 12. She ought to know. The only time I wake up early is when it's a work day. When I'm work focused, and she be trying to call and chat, be like, I didn't even hear the phone ring.
I had tea, and I was excited, and I just wanted to share with my sister. And so
I know she got that piping hot tea. Yeah, but that's true. I think you brought up a really good point. Like, most people, like, we're all, business owners. We've run businesses. We've worked. We've it's like your 20s, you literally are dumb. You think you know everything and you make all the mistakes. You're usually poor because even if you have money, you don't know how to manage it. And so it's And then 30s, you start figuring stuff out. The seeds start planting. You start getting direction. And it really isn't until like late 30s, 40s that things really start paving the way. And you start seeing results, and you start so it's like, you can't be discouraged, but you got to know that this is like the normal route for most people,
Unfortunately, we have an age-centric, a youth-centric media that gives the impression that your life is supposed to be at a certain stage. I talk to especially young women coming into their 20s, like, okay, I'm going to get my degree here. I'm going to get my master's, then I'm going to be married, then I'm going to have kids by this year. And it'd be like scheduled out, They almost have a dream board of when stuff's supposed to be.
Vision boards
it don't happen like that. It's like you meet your partner, the right partner when they come. You get the right job that happens when it comes. It all is on its own timeline.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it's not till your late 30s and 40s where you start figuring that out.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Who wrote this script for me?
Right. And I mean,
best laid plans.
Think about most of your friends who like they went to college for one thing and now they're doing something completely different. Yeah. Or they got married real young and then they had to move away from that because now they've realized who they like. I don't even know that I knew who I was until my 30s. Like now that I look back, I'm wow, you really were just kind of floating around in life. And although I had big dreams and big things and I was working on stuff, it was still like it was like almost a coming of age that needed to happen. Like I needed to go through a lot. You need to go through those bad things in order to figure out and appreciate the good things,
And travel. That's another thing. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to go. You don't have to go to El Segundo or nothing like that, but you just get out of your hometown, get out of your mama's house. It's real addictive, especially if you got one of them mamas. They want to keep you in the cradle. Yeah. And they don't want to charge you rent. And she got that good cable package.
Yes.
She's gonna help you out, help you round out those bills.
Too much
comfort. You gotta getting away from that can be hard. Some of us, they be like, yeah, get out of here. What year is this? You're like, but whatever way it is, get out of your comfort zone, go explore the world, fall on your face a little bit. When it's the time to do it. Yeah. Get it out there and do it.
But don't let. I want to encourage people. Do not think that if you can't visualize, because part of manifestation and you have to visualize. For sure. So vision boards are good. Just don't think that there's a timeline for that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the part.
Well,
so it's almost be confused.
Like the minute you put the timeline, it's not gonna happen.
It's going the opposite.
Have you guys seen these like memes lately where like women or like posts or whatever, and these young girls, they're like, if my man take me to Red Lobster, I ain't gonna be with him, or if he take me, and I'm like, that was like the fun times of being broke. Like,
where broke you was love.
Like the broke love, and you were like, I got 20, you got 20. Okay, let's do it. Like we used to have so much fun, but it's like the pressure that is being put on dating and like these expectations. Like me and my husband, we've been married 10 years and we've been together like 13 years, but it's like we've had like those Red Lobster fun dinners, and then we've also had the Nobus and like the we're about to bring out the special credit card for this one, and just everything, and so it's like that's what love is. Love is the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So it's so weird, like you said, it's like this generation, they're so like you have to be getting the bag and you have to be a certain financial, and it's like you guys are missing the mark.
Right.
Yeah. Like
that's the part.
You 25, you over the hill.
Yeah. Like your career is done.
You ain't got your first million at 25. Oh, snap. Hang it up.
It's funny because I look back now, I even see, older pictures, of course, thanks to Facebook, they got to show you your memories.
Yeah. They got to take you through it, don't they?
Going back, I'm like, I feel when I really look back, of course, we always could think of that moment like, damn, I could have did something different. I could have just rolled my eyes and kept it pushing.
Right.
But I feel better now than I did then. I even feel like I look better. I navigate better.
Coming of age,
obviously,
right?
This is the key. It's the key. If you are happy where you are, and if you are happy with who you are, you can't be mad or regret the steps that led up to where you are, because those are the things that made you who you are and what you know and all of that. And even the bad stuff, if it hadn't happened the way it did, it could derail, your whole future.
Absolutely.
And kind of sacrifice that well-roundedness and the things that you appreciate now that you didn't in your 20s. I mean, it's like you said, we used to go get Bojangles chicken back when it was $5 for a full combo.
I still go.
Wing dinner with free iced tea, and go to Christi's Pizza where they had the all-you-can-eat buffet, and that was I was balling with my $5. I took a sister out. Listen, if I took a sister out to Bojangles, that was Roost Chris back then.
Like seriously, like it's one of those things where I'm like, you're losing sight of what could be, because it doesn't mean, like, to me in that getting to know stage, you shouldn't be investing no $400 or $500 on a dinner. Like that should not be what it takes to get to know him or her. Like that makes absolutely no sense.
Hot
that
dog
to me,
walk in the park.
Exactly. You're not even like there for the right reasons if that's what you're looking at. So it's like you have to like look at the whole picture and just go, this is part of the journey. Like, you know, we're young, we're coming up together, and then there's gonna be a day where we're just gonna walk up in there and be like, what? We want it all. Everybody getting a ribeye.
Pop audience, you don't understand. When we get together, we go on a $5 chicken plate at Gus's in Atlanta.
Yes.
We going to Fat Matt's and sucking on a rib for $11.95 a plate with refills and tea and lemonade. We're not like, oh, where's the Mortons or where's the Roots Chris or where's
there's nothing
we could afford that.
Yeah,
that's not
we
necessarily
don't do
what's important.
Yeah, right. It's the fellowship, and it's like when the goodness of the food. Yeah. Like, why are you hating on the good deal? Like, I don't understand this.
And it's people's mentalities thinking that that's when you're supposed to start at the top, and if some people come into the game and they somebody by whatever means has given them this top tier experience again at 22. Well, then where do you go from there? Because that may not last always. Do you even know how to survive? Do you even have the resources? Do you have the wherewithal to even figure out, okay, it ain't always gonna be like that. So now what do I do in the interim? And that's the problem. And then that's when people end up doing crazy stuff.
If you're being financially savvy, you shouldn't be spending that kind of money at every meal. Like, you shouldn't be, you know, it shouldn't even be that kind of situation, because the reality is like, you know, especially in the entertainment industry, it's like, you know, there's peaks and valleys in this career. Like, there's you know, it ain't just
taught us a lot.
Yes, it did. And those people lost it all in COVID because it was a check to check situation. You know, it was crazy. But also it's like, it's kind of disturbing at how a lot of that is a big part of who they feel they are. Like, they don't feel good enough, or they don't feel like they're enough without this certain echelon or certain clout that comes with life. Really. You know what I'm saying? And it's all just for the gram, or it's all fake. Like, you know, nobody's posting their failures. They're only posting their success. So it's like, it's just all a fake situation. And this wasn't even something we were talking about, but it's like,
sometimes it's a reality check.
Organically, I'm glad this conversation came up, because I feel like more people need to hear it. But you know what?
Absolutely.
We watched a couple of things this week. They were kind of like coming of age stories. Both of them were. Like, it was we're going to start with Percy Jackson. They had, you guys know, we watched the whole series, and it was just it was a fabulous coming of age story for this young boy who had come from, you know, having, you know, ADHD, and he didn't ever fit in, and he felt picked on, and he was bullied, and he just always knew, even from a little kid, that something was not right. Like, he was different. And then he later finds out, he later, you know, and his father wasn't in his life, and so there was that hole of emptiness, and he later finds out that he is the son of Poseidon. And not only is he, you know, this kid, but he's like a half-blood, and he's like, you know, it's like demigod, and I mean, it's just his life is filled with such adventure, and he is just thrown into you know, he loses his mom, or at least he thinks he does, and he's thrown into saving his own life, and then having one chance of getting her back, and he's going to do anything he can to get her back. But along the way, he makes these amazing friends, and we suggested this show a few weeks ago because it is that good, and it's on Disney Plus, and it's been getting amazing ratings, and it's going to get a season 2, and the actors on this show are through the roof. But they had a show that was called it's kind of the making of Percy Jackson, and it was so good. Like, I love watching the making of anything, right? And it showed, like, these young kids at the time, this young boy Walker, who's the lead, who plays Percy Jackson, I think he's like 15 or 16 now, but at the time he was 13 years old, filming this amazing show. He's, you know, got the whole, like, he's number 1 on the call sheets. That means he's probably in almost every scene. And the seriousness that these young kids took, I mean, the reason it's so good is because they took these parts so serious. And it was just so cool to see, like, get an inside seeing their parents, seeing the whole crew, like, work to make sure that they were in a space to create, but also challenge them, but also made them feel safe and feel like normal kids, and let's not, work them to death. So what were your thoughts? Because Hilton, it was actually your suggestion that we watch this, because he already knows I love these kind of shows. So he was like, oh, you guys got to watch this. So what was your thought when you saw it? Because it was pretty fantastic.
Well, there's one key element that I think really stands out, and I think it kind of follows with the Stranger Things model, that these are actually age-appropriate kids.
Yes.
They're not 25-year-olds playing 16-year-olds. Like they're actually 13, 14, and 15-year-olds playing their age. So they are the age of the characters approximately that they're playing. So they're drawing from that same kid energy, in every scene and every line and everything. So you really get that sense of authenticity from the casting alone. All of these frontline players, they're not newbies. They all have other credits, right? But they're not like A-list stars. So when you see Percy, he might look a little familiar because you saw, one show on Netflix or something like that, but he's not A-list star yet. So you're really kind of open to everything that he's got going on because you're discovering him and you don't have to wipe away the last role to get to know the character. But then they got a whole lot of A-list characters cast around, especially playing gods and demigods and immortals and everything like that. So you really get these great cameos. Like we had Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's playing Hermes, who's a casino owner. You have what's my man's name who just passed? The brother. He just played Zeus. Lance Reddick. And amazing performance, even though it was a very short, cameo at the end.
Glenn Thurman was in there.
These kids carry the movie, the series. Yes. I mean, it's on them the whole time. These same 3 or 5 characters that are, rotating around, and that's a hell of a gamble for a studio like Disney to do. But the fact that they cast all the right kids, and these are hardworking kids, they are talented, and they carry it for us, for those who are maybe not fans of the book. They're extraordinarily faithful to the series. So if you're a fan of the book, you're going to really be a big fan of the series. And we got some really, really great ideas for what this next season is going to be. Because we've already seen the movies are kind of molded. We kind of got to know these characters that way. But it is just so well written. It's so well scored. It's so well acted. The plot, the cinematography, the on location shooting that they do, even in studio, the stuff that they do with CGI is amazing. And I don't see any minuses. Like I'll be like, most things will be like, maybe they could have done this in less, or maybe they needed one more. They hit the mark. Paced. It hits you in the gut, like you are with Percy. When he gets serious, like this is like a 13-year-old kid going up against a pro wrestler. Like who's playing Ares, the god of war, and you really are worried, like, whoa, Percy, chill out, like,
Adam Copeland,
let that man breathe, So if you haven't watched it, get your life, start the series, but if you have, definitely watch the making of, because it really cracks the whole thing wide open.
It just opens the door to everything. I mean, from the makeup department, from the people who do the score, from, like you said, the producers, and just all of their intentions, and like everything had meaning. I mean, some of those sets, like, man, like you see the show and it's pretty cool. And I mean, but when you see like what went into it and like the special effects and the team
built a casino in an abandoned mall, like actually built a casino.
Yeah. So Chris, I know you enjoyed it. Like we chatted about it for a second. We try not to talk about these things until we're on, the show and on camera, but we chatted for a second about it. Tell me what you thought.
I loved it. I like you. I also love to see how things come together. It's such meticulous work that they do, and they just don't leave out anything. There's no stone unturned. I loved the fact that Rick Riordan is, matter of fact, he just came up in one of my courses, my media course thing that I'm in. We have to design an author's website and blog, and like one of my classmates referenced his website, and as soon as I went to it, I was like, oh yeah, hands down, this is who we want to look like, as writers, because it's so good. But he's got Percy Jackson all over it, and it's like, you can't go wrong. I mean, I remember those books. I bought the books for my kids. Love. I think that also what makes this whole series and everything they're doing with it and going to do with it. Really extra special is that everyone on set, and especially those kids, they love those stories. They love the book. So when you go in already, this is not a new concept to you. I think you just bring a really new energy, or a special energy to a project, because you already have such a love for this. I mean, again, everything you all just said, I echo. It is incredible. Sorry, hold on. I just lost my earbud.
It's technical difficulties.
Right.
She's
Bloopers.
falling apart.
Keep it going. Keep it moving. Anyway, I think it is super. It's incredible just to see again the sets and the things. I love the way they showed him working on his craft was just hard. That's the part where you go a little bit like, ooh, look at that baby. He is working when he goes in the water and just practicing doing that, because that's never easy for
hours
anybody.
And hours.
We saw that with Wakanda Forever when they all had to work and going underwater, and you just see that with any film. But here we're watching this child, practice, and just the dedication. And what I mentioned before the show started was, when that daddy got teared up, when Walker's father, he said,
down.
He said, I don't even have a first name anymore. It's just Walker's dad. But the pride that he had, and that just, oh yeah. And then the character who plays his mom in the show, she got Virginia Cole, is it? She got incredibly emotional, just why she was doing this, why it mattered to her. And of course, because it was her godson that she was walking with one day, and they were in Queens. I'm like, dang, I wish I could have ran into y'all. I'm gonna go look for them. But I was like, those are the things that make these projects, and you can feel that emotion. Now seeing it after the fact, you understand why it was so good when we're watching it, and why we talk about it the way that we do, and why people love it so much, and greatly anticipating season 2.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it was, for me, it was like, as an actor, you always want to see like the process. Like I always love seeing the process. And even as a producer, just like, I love how they make something, and how, it goes from an idea, it goes from a story that was originally created, the original author said he wrote the book for his son. Like he just wanted to entertain. Yeah. He wanted to entertain his son. And then it became, these series of novels.
That gets us. That's inspirational.
And it's like almost like the energy and the intention was there. So it was like, when you have something that's that magical from the start, it typically will be that magical in the end, and so to see these kids like being so young, and just like, the one girl, Leah Jeffries, who plays Annabelle, where her parents were like, they knock on her door and she was like, I'm Annabelle right now. I can't, like, she's that much in character. Annabeth. Yeah, sorry, Annabeth. And she's like, I can't, she was that in character. Like when she was practicing her lines, she was diving that deep, and it just was so cool. And I love the fact that it's like, getting such acclaim. Like people are loving this show, and because there wasn't much marketing. Like I just saw it on my Disney Plus, and I remember I just jumped in the chat and was like, hey guys, I watched this one episode of, Percy Jackson. Have you guys watched this? It's really good. And then y'all were like, yeah. And you were like, oh yeah, I've watched all 5. And I'm like, what? And so that's why we kind of got on it. But it was like, Disney did nothing much of nothing other than like New York Comic Con.
Yes.
But I mean,
I was looking for myself in all of the footage.
But if you weren't there, if you weren't at New York Comic Con, you wouldn't have gotten any of that marketing. Like they just hit one big show, and there's 100,000 people there, but still, it wasn't like they did commercials or that they promoted it. They didn't put any of that kind of money. It was.
I don't even think the cast was there in full.
No,
so it wasn't even like they had like a panel and a meet and greet or any of that
cast.
stuff. Like,
they didn't do like a Hall H situation, in San Diego, where they bring the cast out and you get to meet them and the kids go crazy. Yeah, so
I wanted to mention something real quick before we pass by it. The kids for whom which the story was crafted for, the kids who have learning differences and have mental challenges, maybe they have dyslexia or ADHD or they're on the spectrum. Those kids, some of them were actually playing extras in the camp, and they had a chance to speak on their impressions and what the series and what the stories meant to them. And it was just like, wow, like these kids really identify with, like, these kids are saying, hey, it's really cool that through this mythology, through this storytelling, they are validating the way in which my brain is wired, or the way that, you know, I see the world, or the way I perceive or interact with other people, even though it may be different than the normal way people interact. And I don't feel it's weird, or I don't feel, you know, marginalized, because I identify with these characters who, growing up and before they realize their demigodness, are just kids who have ADHD or are on a spectrum or dyslexic. And these are actual symptoms of, you know, because you're literally out of phase with everybody else. And so it's like, wow, this is like a love letter, one, just like you said, to the writer's son, but it has that resonance. And I think that's really the magic of the series, is that it embraced that, where the movies did not. It really makes that a central underlying tenet of, you know, Percy is growing up feeling inadequate, feeling as if he's somehow lesser, and when he's actually so much greater. But you can't know that he's greater until he's old enough to handle it, because the more he knows about his greatness, the more danger he's in, and it's this whole thing. So it's a really, really, really solid story, and it has a lot of heart. And like I said, it's on paper, and I know you guys know this, when you try to tell your adult compatriots to go watch something like Percy Jackson on Disney, whether they're going to be like, I ain't watching no. You're like, trust me, the story is solid enough. The series is solid enough. You will love it. You'll fall in love with these characters. And I hope we get 10 more seasons of this. I can't get enough.
Too. Yeah.
I can't get enough. I might go rewatch it just because having seen the making of, I'm like, maybe there's some stuff I missed. I need to go back and check it out. Right.
So many things that I feel the same way. Like, it's just so many intricate things that I missed, but the making of is like, you get so much more, and it's just so cool to see that onion like peeled back and see why things were, you know, it really just gave it deeper meaning for me, especially because I wasn't a person who was like, just, I knew everything about Greek mythology. I mean, I knew a couple people and a couple characters, but that was kind of it. You know, I wasn't a Percy Jack. I didn't read the books when I was in elementary school or anything like that. So for me, I was that person who would need to be recruited into this world, but it had all the elements. Like, you know, you guys know I fell in love with Walker when he was on, you know, that show Adam Project. Like, I was like, I'm watching anything this kid is in, anything he's in.
If they haven't seen that, you gotta see it.
You gotta go see it. Yes,
super sleeper.
So good.
He goes toe to toe with Ryan Reynolds. Literally is like, it just was so great. So yes, if you haven't seen it, you gotta watch it. It's worth the watch. It's worth every bit of it. And you'll just eat up the making of. Like, it'll just, you know, just make you feel good. Especially if you're a creative, or you just, you know, it's funny. I used to always watch those shows like Making the Band, and like, I wouldn't even know half of the bands, but I was so into just, how did these people get here? How did it go there? And where did it go wrong? And where are they now? Like, you know, because that's usually the formula for that show. And I didn't have to know any of their hits. I didn't have to know anything. It was just so cool to see something be created. I don't know.
Made.
Yeah. So,
that's
and another show that we watched this week that we thought, I mean, I eat this up. Assembled is one of my shows. Like, think about Marvel is Marvel's going to give you the show, and then a few weeks later, they're going to give you the Assembled. And I want as much Assembled as I can possibly take, because it's just one of those things where, like, again, the making of, and this one for Echo. Oh my gosh. Like, the respect that was paid to the Choctaw Nation. Like, Marvel, this is why the show was so good. Like, people who've been like hating on Marvel recently and have just like, they weren't loving Loki, they weren't loving this, they weren't loving that. You know, they had all these, like, you know, they didn't just fall in love with Marvels. Like, it was just different. Like, there have been certain movies that just haven't hit home runs. And, you know, now that I watch them, I'm like, I actually enjoy them. I don't know why it's not hitting a home run for certain people. And I do see certain things that just aren't great, you know? But really outside of like Guardians, you know, this was the only other really big like, we're not going to even question that this is a hit, right? People who don't usually love it, they loved Echo. Like, they love it. They love the darkness. They love the violence. And it was just such a great story. Like, even how she was introduced into, you know, Hawkeye. And then, like they said in this, like, she's a bad guy. Like, she's not good. And even in this, even in Echo, she wasn't a good guy. Like, she's trying, again, coming of age, trying to figure out who she is and what she stands for. And she went through so much tragedy, you know, losing her parents and having a disability. And then she gets, you know, her uncle, you know, comes and helps her, but he's like probably the worst uncle on the face of the earth. Like, he should not be, he should not be supervising a child, you know, and basically raises her to be an assassin. And like, all she wants is revenge for all the pain. And right. And so, but you get to see, like, you get to really understand these characters. You get to meet these actors. And, Marvel, I love you. I love you for respecting all of these cultures. Like, what were your thoughts, Hilton? Because this was something, again, that you suggested. You were like, oh, it's out. Because he already knows. I want all of the making ofs.
I learned so much more than I thought I would watching the assembled for Echo, because we all watch the series and we all think we know what would go into what they did, but to find out just how deep they went with it, the fact that, you know, they flew in, you know, even the extras were authentic Native Americans from the tribes that were being portrayed like that. It got that granular. Like, you know, the Choctaw were playing the stickball against, what was it, the Cherokee? I think it was. And they actually got Cherokees to play against actual Choctaws in this classic, you know, to whatever degree we have knowledge going back thousands of years for what that culture looked like, even though we don't have records. You know, they listened to the elders, they listened to the people, they listened to the legends and the lore, down to the face paint, down to the sport, down to the way they even built the buildings. And, you know, that resonance, you know, when you create a space like that, especially with so many people in the cast who are Native American, you that can't help but inflect, you know, the way in which you perform, you know, because this is like, you're not distracted by like, well, that's not what a dwelling for the Choctaws look like. You know, you're not distracted. You're like, oh, I'm home. I don't have to think about this. I can focus on my performance. I also, and we talked about this on the show, like, I didn't know that the lead actress was actually an amputee and deaf. Like, I thought that was, you know, I knew she was deaf, but I didn't know that was a real amputee, you know, prosthetic that she was working with. See, now I'm like, wait a minute. This sister is running and jumping and doing so many of her own stunts. And she's like missing a limb. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I really didn't know it was that deep. So when you see what happens behind the scenes and how they created this, and I'm going to use the term, when they created this art of world building, this art of storytelling, that for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's not directly looped into anything else pre-existing in the Marvel universe, cinematic or series. It's its own little nook story to be told. Characters from outside series like Daredevil and such, because you have Kingpin, you actually have Daredevil show up on scene, are there, but they're you know, they're not there to tie in some larger narrative. They're not going for the Infinity Stones Part 2 or anything like that. So they are free to tell the story that they want to tell and allow it to grow and go in the direction that it's going to grow, because it had one purpose, and that's to introduce us to Echo, the character. Now, what Marvel decides to do with her now that we've got her is going to be very interesting, because this was a very well-received series. It was very well watched, very well received. I think that's going to be a big part of when and what we see her in next. So it was a really, really great watch, but it's this one even more so, in my humble opinion, than Percy Jackson's behind the scenes. Added so much value and layers to the experience that if you watched it then watch behind the scenes and went back and watched it again, you might see a completely different series.
Yeah.
Because you know what to look for and you understand the depth of what was happening on screen.
Yeah.
So I 2 thumbs up as usual for this and many other projects. If you guys out there don't have Disney Plus, I
don't know what you're doing with your life.
Know what is going on with your life
let go
right
of
now.
something. Let go of something. You got to give up a coffee.
It's like there's so many. I know there's a lot of streaming
$9.99 a month
or
something.
Right.
I don't know.
There's 2 venti lattes.
Oh yeah,
2 venti lattes.
That's it, right? But no, you know what I loved? Like Alakwa Cox. I mean, like you mentioned, she is she's deaf, and they had asked her early on, like, you know, is there something we can do to make things easier for you? And then she said, you know, she obviously had a translator on set, like who would be there and help, you know. But she said if a couple people could learn, you know, sign language, that would be great, you know, whatever. And she said she was blown away because the whole crew took classes and literally everyone is signing. Like and then they were saying, like, it's not a matter of, you know, them knowing like how to do it perfectly, because some people learned it really well and they were just like, wow, now they can do it, like, you know. Some learned on a slower pace, but it was the intention, like it was the fact that people wanted to make sure that at all times that she always understood, like she could always be a part of the conversation, you know. And you see them when they're just standing there and they're talking to the whole crew, somebody's signing. So she was always a part of the conversation. She's the lead actress of this series, and it just felt so special. And, you know, another thing was like they would do different rituals and stuff that, you know, the Choctaw Nation would do, and like they would start off a day where they would do like the circle and they would walk together, and I'm like, this isn't something that that is mandatory. Like, you know, they culture. They respected the culture, but they knew they were making something for this legend, these people, their culture, their history. And so in order to do that, they needed to respect it. And I'm all about energy. You know, it's like one of those things like where if it ain't good energy, I don't want that around me. Like, I'm like, like, you know, you kind of want to move bad energy away, and it's only good only good vibes, right? And they literally, their intention and their energy and what they surrounded themselves with, and like, you know, calling the Choctaw Nation when the wardrobe department was going to make her fierce, like her ultimate, like Echo, you know, battle armor. Like they sent it to them and said, we need you guys to do the beading and the leather work and this and this. And they said, you know, we would send them, and it would take time because they're not like churning this stuff. Like they're not a wardrobe department and they're like, okay, we need it in a week, you know. They said we'd send them a sketch and then they'd send us stuff and we'd send us samples and we'd make notes and we'd send it back, and we were very patient because we knew this outfit, the final outfit needed to be made by them, you know. And that just like everything was so special. But no, it's great.
I want to say this because I've already admitted I missed it in the notes and I didn't watch it, but of course I will go back and watch it simply again because it's Marvel and because I love the series. So I want to see all of that. But I'm going to say I'm not surprised because when we're watching the show, for those of you who have not watched it, when you're watching the show, everything that Karan and Hilton have just said, you're going to see exactly what they said, even in the show, because you feel the authenticity of it, because Marvel, that's just what they do.
Yeah.
They take it so seriously. And I love that. I love hearing the stories, but I want to make a correction because Hilton, I looked it up when we first talked about Echo in the middle of our show. I was like, oh no, she's an actual amputee. She is. Let me clear that up. She's a real amputee. She's really deaf. Like she's got all of the, you know, what we think are disabilities, but it's really a superpower for her.
Yeah.
And she has, that's amazing. It kind of actually gave me goosebumps when you said that the whole cast learned.
Yeah.
I mean, the crew learned sign language to be able to communicate. I mean, now that's, Whew.
Well, and the other thing, like the stunt team, they talk about, you know, how when they were working with her and they were like, she's very athletic, and, you know, Echo is a street fighter, you know, she's a street fighter. So her fights were very, hardcore or whatever. And they go, there were times that she could take like some things that would be painful for other people. She could take it because she was an amputee. She didn't have pain on those kind of things. And so it was just like how every single, this role was truly meant for her, and it was, I don't think the role, I think Echo has always been where she was deaf, but they didn't have, she wasn't an amputee, but because she was, and she was so perfect for the role, that was written into the story. And that was like, they made that be a part of how amazing this, it's literally, she's doing more than most of us do on our two legs. You know what I'm saying?
On a regular day.
Yeah, on a regular day. Like she is hardcore, a real life human superhero if I've never seen one, and a wonderful actress, a talented woman, and man, it just Assembled, you have to watch it. It was so good.
It's really, really awesome.
Good. Yeah,
I want to say something because
please.
it just kind of circles back to the experience that we had this past summer at BLERDCon, because we had our first deaf actor, Kevon Woodard, from The Last of Us on HBO, and he's he was 9-10 years old at the time, and we had disability services as an office that all cons have. But we had an additional service that we brought in of translators who worked within the convention for everything from being on the stage and translating, the interviews to, helping individuals who may be deaf or hard of hearing who need services in panels and going around. But we also worked with, the rhythm of what it takes for, and his whole family is deaf. Right. So it's not just him, it's his brother and his mother and his father. And, everybody, is signing. And you get to see them interacting, and you see how they, we have the intonation of our voices to convey emotion and to catch people's attention and to kind of be even beyond what we're saying, how we're saying it is a whole other line.
Yeah.
They are expressing themselves in these different ways. And I can only imagine as an actor, you have this other set of muscles, these other set of skills that I have to convey pain or laughter or joy without, the ability to raise or lower my voice or anything like that. I'm speaking with my hands, I'm speaking with my facial expressions and my body language. And so I got to see that firsthand as a convention organizer. Yeah. So watching the behind the scenes of Echo, I'm like, imagine, everybody getting a rudimentary understanding of sign and having that way of communicating with the other deaf, actors and translators and staff and assistants who are on set. Yeah. And it's just like the learning experience and the bonding experience that comes from something like that, we can only imagine. Yeah. And for a major studio to not take the short way out and have subtitles everywhere.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And just take the sign, because they were talking about how like a close up for Alagua is not like us where we're like, shoulder blades down. It's like,
it has to include where her hands can be.
The hands have to, because we can only get so close in on her in order to have her speak and interact. So we have to change the way we do our shots. We have to change the lighting, the spacing, and the layout and everything of how we do these sets and these shots is important. So it's more than just the fact that they learned sign. It's that they had to kind of change the way they did everything in order to bring this thing about. So if you haven't watched it, you gotta
I don't know
go
what
watch
you're
it.
doing, man.
I don't know how many times, if you're a BOP watcher and you're not watching Disney, I mean, we're not getting paid by Disney. So this is not us trying to get money. We are fans, and we love watching what they do, and we can't fathom how other people who, if you got enough bandwidth to watch this online, you should be able to get
the stuff people watch, right? Like the stuff if you're watching that stuff, then you can watch this stuff. Yeah, and also another highlight of Assembled is seeing Charlie Cox come back as Daredevil. Like seeing him on set, seeing him with her, just, I mean, it excites me as to where this, like you said, where this character is going to go, where she's going to show up next, what happens. Cause she hit it out of the park. Alagua Cox is the truth. And you know, and it just really like it pulled me into a series I never knew I would like. Like, think about it again.
Same.
They keep getting me to like things that I never thought I would like. Like, it's just I wasn't a huge Loki fan, and they pulled me into Loki's world. And I wasn't a huge, you know, Hawkeye fan. They pulled me into his world. And now here I am in Echo's world. I can't wait, you know. The last thing I want to talk about is just when the gentleman who did the score and who did the sound design, and how he said how, you know, this is obviously a hero and you got to like build music a certain way, and you got to set, you know, because here she is, a girl who, you know, she doesn't know what she wants to be when she comes back home. And she realizes that, you know, as the story progresses, she realizes that her family is taking her to her full potential, which is Echo. And she's getting in touch with all these things and these powers that her mother had and has passed down to her, right? But he said how like there were times they would have full score and full, you know, like chasing her down, you know, whatever. He goes, and then there were times where we would just take this out. And then he goes, but then we had to create the world where you needed to know what her world was. And they did such a good job of when they would just make it silent. And like when she was like, you were seeing this and hearing this through her point of view, it was silent. You didn't hear, you know, music. You didn't hear, like, this was how Echo was experiencing this world. And and I mean, for me, like, I've never, obviously I'm not, you know, I'm not deaf, but I just think it's so important to give people who, like, we're lucky enough to be able to hear and see and how, you know, we don't, you know, we're so blessed. But for you to, for 1 second, to get into her shoes and to experience the quietness of her world. And the world is crazy and everything's going, but it's still, you know, and they better win. They better be nominated for something. That's all I got to say, because it was perfection. And I encourage you, even though this is, I guess it's rated because of the fights and the, like, there's no like cussing or nudity or anything. It's just violent in the fact that there's brutal fighting, you know. But I would encourage you, if you have a child and if they are of a certain age, to watch it with them, because I think it's important for kids to really understand, like, if they have a friend that's at school and they didn't know, this gives them insight into a disability that they probably have never even known to think this way. They've never known to, you know, be, you know, tuned in to someone else's experience. And I think it's important. Like, I think they did an excellent job of bringing us into her world and seeing it through her eyes and experiencing life, you know, as quiet and as still as she does, you know.
And I want to reiterate that the existential exciting part of this is that what they have done with the Echo series that they just laid out is that they have acknowledged and they have bridged that whole network, Netflix bandwidth of shows. So, for instance, you know, what's my man's name? Luke Cage, and you know, Daredevil, and you know, all of those characters and all those stories that were told in the Netflix series are now canon for Marvel. So you may get to see, you know, Luke Cage get another series, or you might get to see Jessica Jones get another series. You might get to see, you know, this Defenders, the street level, which I think would be a really interesting direction for them, because everything's like super cosmic now. Like, you know, multiverse, it's Infinity Stones and all this. But there was a part of Marvel that was like street level, like, you know, and not even street level like Spider-Man. Like, I'm talking Daredevil was going after mobsters. Luke Cage was going after drug dealers.
It was back alley.
You know, it's in the alley, beating like somebody up to get information.
It wasn't Thanos.
You know, right. It wasn't galactic, you know, aliens or anything. You know, I got just enough power to whip your ass if you don't tell me what to do. So the fact that they are going to co-opt those storylines, and I hope that they co-opt all the actors and pick up where they left off, because we really enjoyed those that were on Netflix over the past few years. But Echo is now that bridge, and this is when you have, you know, Kingpin and you have, you know, Daredevil showing up on screen. That is their way of saying, yes, that this world is now part of the Marvel series and Marvel Entertainment Universe, and is now open for us to create and do some more world building that ties in with everything else that we're doing. So it's going to be a really interesting storytelling arc over the next 5 to 6 years that are going to be at that street level. And I can't wait.
And just so you know, I just got a Google News alert on my phone 16 minutes ago. Percy Jackson and the Olympians is officially getting a second season on Disney Plus.
So we knew that.
We are getting, I was like,
the news would be if they weren't. Then we'd be like, oh, now I got to quote it.
It's official. It's official, right? But I do have a bone to pick with you. Okay. Hilton George.
Oh,
yes, like, Hilton. Yeah, it's not you, not you, Christi, but Hilton. I know, not.
We're having difficulties. I can't. Hold on a minute. Let me get my.
First of all, I went to Alaska this last weekend, and it was literally the coldest. Like, it was record cold. Like, they were setting records of -55. At one point, I'm like talking to Christi, sending her pictures of stuffed bears, because literally this taxidermy is a huge business there. Yes, I had no idea that bears are 7 and 8 feet tall. Like, polar bears and these bears in Alaska are that tall. Because, California bears are only like little baby bears. Okay, but first of all, secondly, like, she's like, girl, you are literally on the set of True Detective. Like, it looked like that. Like, it was
in Night Country.
I was in Night Country.
Whoa,
like,
it was town, everything. It was crazy.
The town was we were in Fairbanks, Alaska, so it was super small. I just thank God. I thank God up above that I did not watch episode 4 of True Detective in Alaska, because I would not have been able to sleep. That last episode of True Detective, I screamed. Like, literally, I'm watching it and I scream out loud. My husband's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh my God. He's like, why do you watch this scary stuff? It is getting scarier. Like, remember last week I was like, oh, it's not bothering me. It's this. It's the culture, blah, blah, blah.
It's dark.
No, it bothers me now. It's scary. It's caught up, Hilton. It's all your fault, because I'm too dedicated to Navarro, and I'm too dedicated. I got to see it through. Yeah, but I screamed.
Listen, if this is not, we're not breaking any news here, BOP community. Every series and every season of this series has been just a home run. It's suspense, thriller, true crime, scary, horror. It's just been all of that. And every season, you can't go wrong. So if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. So this one is especially and more acutely horrifying because it's got so many of these horror elements we talked about. It's got the jump scares, but it's also got the situational scare. You're isolated in this little town, and there's no real way in, there's no real way out.
7 days of darkness.
You can die just by taking your coat off and walking. Yeah, like that's suicide in Alaska. I'm gonna take my coat off and I'm gonna walk into the woods.
And I've experienced that, guys. That is legit, for real, can happen to you. But go ahead.
Listen, it's like that. So it's just so scary because it sets up this sense of isolation and this inability to escape whatever is going on, this impending doom. And it's dark. Remember, it's parts of Alaska have like seasonal sun and seasonal dark. 6 months, 4 months, 5 months of dark, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months of sun. They going into this. We haven't seen the sun since its first episode.
It's day 7 or 8 of darkness.
Right. And so the story's starting to crack open. And so Karan was going to a con out in Alaska. Like, you gonna go to Alaska and watch True Detective?
I'm happy that I admit, like, for whatever reason, that Sunday night, I was like so focused after the show, because they have weird flights. Like, either you fly out at like 1 a.m. in the morning or you fly out at like 7 a.m. So I was like going on the 7 a.m. flight, and I was like, okay, that means I got to get up at like 4:30, 4 o'clock, whatever, just to catch my flight. And so I was like, okay. I was so determined on going to bed and like making sure I went to bed and I had some sleep, because I don't sleep well on planes. So I was like, I just don't want tomorrow to be painful, And I forgot to watch but it was on the agenda and I thank God I did not watch an episode while I was actually in there.
You better man than me.
We had a whole run. It was the thread that we have that I have still laughed. I laughed so hard I had to just send a voice message of me hollering, laughing. Because it was so funny. But when she texted me the temperature there, I said, hold on, that ain't even on a thermostat. That's not even on they don't even have them numbers. That's not even real. Like, she was in a frozen hell. That was a nightmare. There was nothing attractive. I said I couldn't have done it. I'm sorry. That's just too cold.
Karen, you said it was so cold. White folk wasn't wearing cargo shorts.
No, none.
Like it passed that whole ironic.
Yeah, like they were.
Midwesterner.
You know what they were doing? You know what they were doing though? This is how stupid people are. There's this big sign where it has like -45 or -50 or it says the temperature. They were getting out. They would be out there in their bathing suits, but they would literally run out of the car, take the picture, and then run back in because it was like. I mean, I've never in my life, like my room, my hotel room, I had to have my thermostat set between 75 and 80 just to keep it warm enough. But it was still like, I was like at a Marriott, like it was still chilly. Like I still was in a blanket the whole time because there's just no way to like battle that kind of cold. Yeah. And like when you would go, like we passed by like a Walmart and like the whole parking lot, all of the cars are running like. And I was like, what the heck? But if they turned the car off, they would not start. And like all the cars come with plugs. So they plug in and they have to like plug their cars in order for the battery and all that to be warmed so that it actually will start. I was like, what kind of place is this? Like, what is happening?
And if you move to Alaska, because I have a friend that did this, they actually pay you a stipend every year to live there. It's like $1,500, $2,000 oil benefit or something. Yeah. Otherwise, nobody would live there. Yeah. And so somebody's got to have like that aren't directly working with the research infrastructure up there have to do that. Yeah. So they pay you this extra money and they've got these super low taxes and all these incentives. Just like said, you step outside, you can't just run to the corner and get a paper. You can't. Like, it's like a spacewalk. Like it's like being on a space shuttle. If you want to go out, you got to layer up and do all of this and be ready and know exactly where you're going. Yeah. And don't be out there strategizing. We're going left, we're going right, which car, which side, all of that. It's got to be done.
And you know, all of us, American side, like everybody who lived in the America part of the world, they like, you know, we all had these big plans. Like I was like, I'm going to go snowmobiling. I want to go on a dog sled. Like but they were like anything past -10, everything shuts down. Like school shut down, everything. And so it was -50, -55 one day.
My freeze is not -50.
Yeah.
But my ice is like -50. Damn.
Right. It's just not even heard of. And then there was, when we left, they were like, oh, it's going to be warmer. It was like -5. And it was, guys. Like it just like it was cold, but like you'd go outside and you didn't
appreciated that -5.
That -5 was good compared. Like it
put on your cargo shorts.
Of course, right? I'm like, of course it's warming up when we leave, and I gotta go. Like, but oh my gosh, man, it was so amazing though. Like I encourage any of you to go. Obviously during the winter, it's like the sun rises at about 9:30. And it sets at 4:30. So there's a limited window of sun. But in the summer, the sun will rise at like 7 a.m. and it'll stay light until like 2 a.m. in the morning. It is just all it's kind of like Ireland. Like I remember we went to Ireland and we came out of it was like midnight, 1 a.m, and the sun was still up. And I was like, what kind of crazy place am I at? Like I was afraid to walk back to the hotel, and they were like, oh, you'll be fine. I'm like, I don't want to walk by myself, and I walk out and it's like literally daylight. So it was like, oh yeah, I'll be fine.
That kind of stuff makes go psychosis.
It's crazy. But guys, that's the end of our show. Oh my gosh, it was so great.
We ended on the cold note.
Yes. Guys, we talked about Percy Jackson, we talked about Echo, we even talked about True Detective. These are literally some great things to watch. I know we've said it, but oh my gosh, you gotta watch True Detective in the middle of the day. And make sure you got plenty of stuff to wash it off of you, because it's just getting creepier and creepier. Like
your Bible. Bring your Bible to the viewing.
Yeah, it's like but it's like something demonic is happening there. Like they're under a spell.
I said that episode too, and y'all was like, I'm like, See, when that orange come out from under the bed, and then you're like, oh, all right, see what's going on.
Well, what does that mean? So what does that mean? Like
I don't know.
I need to like watch some of these shows that's breaking this down for me, because I am not understanding what a lot of this craziness means. And maybe I don't
I'm
need
watching
to.
them and they don't know either. They are speculating. Like they up there like, well, we think this, and this. I'm like, like the only smart thing that they brought out that I didn't know is that the lady who sees dead people,
yes,
that's Matthew McConaughey's mother from season 1.
Yes.
So we might get a cameo of him in one of these later episodes coming back. This is where he's from. He's from this town.
Yeah.
And this is the Sarcosa is the same cult that him and Woody Harrelson were investigating in season 1. And they're kind of seeing a lot of that same iconography and stuff here in Alaska. So that tether is there. But other than that, everyone else is like, we don't know what.
Yeah,
is it supernatural? Is it chemical? Is it industrial? Is it
what is it? Yeah, right. Like it's just some weird. All I know is I need Jodie Foster. I need Callie Reese. I need these women to get nominated for something. Like they are. Oh, they're doing it. Like they are acting their everything off. Everything. Like Callie Reese. I don't know that I've ever seen her in anything. I don't know how they found
I don't
her.
know the sister.
Yeah.
I don't know. But she is killing it.
Killing it. Like, I'm literally like, that's the only reason I'm stuck in this horror, because I need to know that Navarro is gonna be okay.
It's like, really authentic, like really good and just organic in that, the way she delivers and the way she, walks in, whatever she says, however she confronts somebody. She's really good. Very good.
And she's funny. Like there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching.
What? Real quick.
Yes.
For maybe the next show, we have to review and discuss Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Donald
Is
Glover.
It good?
It is amazing.
What is it on? It's on Netflix?
It is on Prime.
Prime, okay.
So, yes.
Somebody was talking about that yesterday.
4. It is so good, and it's so much different than the movie. I don't even know why they named it that.
Yeah.
But it's so good, and we should definitely look at talking about it, because it is as good as Atlanta, the series. It's written by the same people, produced and directed by the same people.
Oh, no
so
wonder.
it's another one. We'll put a pin in that.
I had just saw, like, someone else was talking about it, and then he wrote an article or something, or he did an article and said something about, I guess, the girl, what's her name? Another actress was supposed to be playing opposite of him, and she's a very successful actress, and he goes, it just didn't work out. Our chemistry wasn't there, and we had 2 totally different visions. And so that's why I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I wonder. And now that you say it, okay, we're gonna have to watch it. We're gonna have to dig deep into this, and especially knowing that the same team that did Atlanta. I mean, that's a lot. That says a lot, right?
It's so really good. So much better than I expected. I was really expecting to be like, oh, this is going to be some bull jive.
Yeah.
20 minutes in, I'm like,
not bull jive.
Right. See how he acts? See, he comes up with words too. Anyways, this is the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. We are so excited that you joined us. Tune in next week. We will have something great to talk about. We love you. We mean it. Bye.
Bye.
Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode of the BOP, the BLERD official podcast.